Okay, so hello and welcome. We are ready and everything is set up to run our Suurlemoen Mampoer or our fruit brandy that we are doing. So everything has been prepped and set up ready, and we'll also be doing some tips as per your request on how I run my still. So let's get into it. Okay, so our Suurlemoen Mampoer has fermented out in 5 days, and as you can see here, it has now clarified for another 2 days and everything has settled out quite nicely to the bottom. So now it's ready for us to transfer into our boiler. I'm transferring it through a sieve to ensure that there's no pulp or anything. I did transfer this into a secondary fermenter after 5 days to allow it to clarify. So I just want to ensure that nothing goes into my still that can cause burning or scorching. Okay, so while that is transferring, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be getting our column ready. So we have our first part over here, our bottom section, and then we have our orange and lemon peel. Remember I said do not throw this away. The reason for that is we dried it, we got it all dried and nice and crispy. So the oils will still be in there and the flavors will be heightened. Now what we need to do is similar to what we did in the gin. If you want to see the gin video, the link will be upstairs or down in the description. So what we're going to do is we're going to load this into our gin basket. So as I said in the previous video, my gin basket is on top of my Reflux. So it is on top of my chamber and it's right after my active Reflux section that I have in here. So yeah, let's get it loaded. So just about a handful goes into the top here. Maybe a little bit more. So depending on the size of your Reflux chamber, of your gin basket, and how much flavor you want to transfer will determine how much of your orange and lemon peel you're going to put in. So I've got about a handful and a half in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close up that section with my side glass, flip it over and get it into place. Okay, so with the majority of the sediment still left over in the bottom and we have siphoned up everything else, don't be greedy, leave this little bit there. This is just going to make a lot more hassles than that last little bit of alcohol is worth. Okay, so while that is going through the sieve and removing any further sediment that is in there, just a quick, for those that are wondering, it did ferment out at roundabout on exactly 12.5% ABV inside of that there. So that means we are transferring about 16 liters after all the losses that I've accounted for now. We're transferring about 16 liters into the fermenter here. So, not the fermenter, the boiler here. So I'm working rounding down as much as I can or rounding up as much as I can. So if we're working on 10% alcohol by volume for the mash or the wash that we're putting into the still, that means that we should be getting about 1.6 liters of 100% pure alcohol out of the still here. Now we are running a brandy and not a vodka, so we're not looking for the high 80s or high 90s. We are looking to start at about 70% and then working it down to about 40% ABV, running it nice and slow and ensuring that we are using our little bit of active and a little bit of passive reflux to get as much flavor to transfer. Remember, it's a brandy, it's not a vodka. We still want some of those flavors to transfer over. So in saying that, we're running it to about 40% this time. So that 40% that we're running it to will give us round about 3.5 liters of usable product at up about 55% when all mixed together, all the hearts are mixed together. Okay, yeah, so this is now finishing the draining process. Then we're going to turn it on again, and yeah, let's give it a little bit of time. While you're waiting for that to happen, why don't you hit that subscribe button down there, or pop a comment, or if you like these kind of videos, put a thumbs up there for us. Okay, so with the boiler all filled up with our wash, so it's about 2/3 of the way full. Next up is my process where I normally, or that I always do when I distill, is I leave the cap open and I stir it to get the temperature even throughout the wash before I cap it. So I'm going to get the elements turned on and allow this to get up to temperature. I'll time it and I'll put the time down in the description with all the times for how long each step takes. So for those that have asked, does this release methanol? Yes, to some extent you will be releasing some methanol in this process. If you think of it, around the element and close to the element are at a higher temperature than what methanol or alcohol does evaporate off at. The reason why I do this is I want the wash to be at an even temperature all the way through before I cap it. So I don't want hot spots and cold spots. That just gives me a better, cleaner product. So think of it as in your industrial stills where they have those agitators. This is just my way of agitating and getting those chemical bonds within the liquid to start releasing, within the solution to start releasing, by stirring it and heating it up to about 60 degrees before I cap it. Okay, so it has now been 32 minutes since we turn on both the elements on the inside here. I'm going to quickly test the water. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but we are getting vapor off of the top here. So for those that have asked, do you lose some product or do you get some of the methanol off? The answer is yes, we do have some vapor coming off, but this is not all the vapor that we're going to take off. Remember, we're still going to take off our heads. So yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but we're getting some there. So quickly testing the temperature, and then we will see if we need to cap it. Okay, so we have hit 55 degrees. I'm going to give it one last stir, and then I'm going to put the cap on. Okay, so with the cap on now, what we're going to do is I'm going to place the first bottle underneath here, or the first collection jar, which will be taking off my 4 shots and my heads. And then it's time to start connecting up all the pipes and that type of stuff. And like I said, we will be running some active reflux and ensuring that we have some passive reflux going on as well. So let's get all of that done. Okay, so we have the column on, we have all our hoses connected, we have our reflux hose connected as well, we have our thermometer in the top currently reading at 12.3 degrees centigrade. So quickly talk about active and passive reflux. So what the difference is with the passive reflux that I normally use when I do a sugar wash to make a gin, I use the passive reflux depending on how hot or how cold it is, but it is winter in South Africa now. So I use the passive reflux to ensure that I get a nice high ABV product out and also as neutral as possible. If I'm going to be doing a vodka, I will be using reflux to the full to ensure that I have that reflux action and all the flavor is stripped out. But now we're doing a brandy, and while we're doing a brandy, we want flavor to transfer over into our product. So the passive reflux is the cold from the column and the atmosphere on the side of the column here, causing your vapor to cool down and fall back down, heat up and fall back down, heat up and fall back down. So it creates like little stripping runs on the inside of your column. Okay. Then if you're going to be using, and that's passive, and then if you're going to be using active reflux is where we're going to be actively pumping water through the top here, and we can control the amount of water and we can control the amount of reflux that is happening. So if we want to get a specific ABV product out or something, we can play with the active reflux. So it depends on which one. So just to recap, passive is allowing the column and the atmosphere to dictate the type of reflux you're getting, and your active reflux is where you actively control the amount of water and amount of reflux that is currently happening. So yeah, let's just quickly get everything else set up, and then we'll see you guys back as soon as we get the first drips going. Okay, so it has now been 15 minutes since we started this expedition, and you can feel that the temperature has reached almost halfway up the column, and we can see that there's some vapors coming up to this part here. So your most volatile chemicals will now almost be all the way to the top here already. So what we need to do now is I'm gonna check the head temperature, and then as well as set a timer for the next 15 minutes. As you can see there's some condensation happening. That means that we have those vapors starting to travel up in the column. So with the head temperature sitting at 14 degrees, we have our passive reflux happening, and we also have our active reflux. So for those that are wondering how much water for your active reflux, you just want little drips to happen. So about the thickness of a pencil lead, that's what you want. Okay, so it has now been 30 minutes into capping it. The head is still sitting at 14.3 or 14.3. It's gone up 0.3 degrees since we last spoke. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you guys a quick close-up view of the reflux action, and as it is running down the sides. So there you can see the reflux, the active reflux from the top is pulling those liquids back down and pulling up all the bad flavors and all that other stuff. So it's a really thin pencil string thickness of liquid, of water running through here. Okay, so our head has just hit 66 degrees. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch off one element, and I'm going to turn the other one all the way down. And we can see we have first drips. So the head temperature went from 14 degrees, all of a sudden shot up to 73.1 degrees. So now all we need to do is we need to get this column to start balancing. So by turning down the power on the one side and turning off the one element completely, what we are doing is we're allowing this column to become balanced. So we're running at about 75 degrees on top. So what we want to do is we want to get that temperature down. So the first 250 mils, what I'm doing is I'm allowing this column to start being balanced. The first drips that are coming off, nice and strong, not very headsy. So let's quickly get a lighter and light it. So we have our lighter. It's nice and cold outside here, and we're just going to lick it. So you'll see we have a slight yellow tip on top, but not a big yellow tip. So we're still with a little bit of foreshots, but not too much. Okay, so another 15 minutes in. Time to do a couple of tests quickly, and then set the timer for another 15 minutes. As you can see here, we are about close to 250 mils. So I'm just going to do a quick taste of the product here, just to see what kind of flavors we have and if we are starting to move out of the heads here. So test number one, let's quickly do a flame test. Just do a quick flame test. So we have, yeah, that's a clear blue flame. So methanol gone. So now we're just waiting for all those fake esters to come off. So I just want to do a quick taste and to see what kind of flavors we have here. So just a little bit in the bottom of the glass. and steal some water. Okay, so we have those fake estery flavors. They're still there, but they have started going away. We're starting to smell the lemon. The lemon actually smells very nice on this. You don't get a lot of orange yet, but there's a lot of lemon. And yeah, let's give it a taste. Okay, no more strong burning sensation around the tongue. No more burning on the lips, so all the methanol is gone. But this has a beautiful citrus flavor. It's actually quite amazing. Okay, so with the heads now reaching 250 mils, it's time to toss the heads and swap out to our next jar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more small jar. So I just want to collect another 250 mils in a small jar to make 100% sure we're not running into any more heads and we're straight into hearts. Our head temperature is now sitting at 74 degrees. So it's just below the boiling point of alcohol. So we're still getting a little bit of stuff coming off of there, but we'll bump it up in due course. Head temperature is still sitting at 76 degrees. So yeah, so it's now an hour since we started this whole process. So, or not the whole process, since we capped it. So let's see what we have product wise. So we still have a beautiful blue flame. Give it a quick taste, and we're almost on 250 mils again. Okay, so that's strong citrus and lemon and orange, and remember, it's fresh off the still. It is still piping hot, this stuff. The flavors are nowhere near what it's going to be after you let it mellow and rest a little bit. So just to yeah, we are fully into our hearts now. So now we just need to swap out this jar for our big 500 mils, and now we start taking off 500 mil at a time. Okay, so we're right at 90 minutes now, so 30 minutes since we last spoke. So head temperature has now risen to 77 degrees, and we are now ready to remove our first 500 ml jug. So that will be jug number 2. First one was only 250 mils, so this one is going to be jug number 2 at 500 mils. So jug number 2, there we go. Let's label it and take it off. Okay, so the head is currently at 80 degrees. It's been another 30 minutes since we spoke last. So this is jar number 3 now. So for those that are keeping track, so it's jar 1 at 250 mils, jar 2 at 500 mils, and jar 3 at another 500 mils. So that brings us up to about 1.2 liters of product, including the 250 mils we taken off for the heads and the fore shots. That brings us to roughly about 2 liters, 1.5 liters of product. So at 1.5 liters, we're about now at the halfway point of the amount of alcohol we might be able to get out of here. So I'm going to switch over to one more 500 ml jar, and then I am going back into collecting 250 mils to make sure that I don't catch some of that tails. So the tails will be a good flavor adder if we can get some flavors within the tail. So that's why we still want to catch them, and the ones that we're not going to use, we're just going to pour into the tails jar that we will then afterwards rerun in the next run of the Mampoer. So as you can see, still crystal clear. This looks almost like water coming off the still. On the nose, it has very high alcohol. You can smell the ethanol in this. but you're getting some citrus notes, you're getting some of the lemon, some of the orange. So let's just give it a quick taste once we've proofed it down a little bit. So that's a lot of citrus. So that's a lot of good flavors in there. You can taste the lemon and the orange and everything in here. So it's going to be a nice brandy, a nice sipping brandy if you want to call it that. The other thing that we need to look at is just a quick tip or a pointer. Whenever you're tasting these high proof spirits or something like that, what you want to do is you want to inhale before you take your sip. You want to swallow and then you want to exhale through your nose, and that will then give you all those flavors. So try not to inhale when the spirit is in your mouth. That's when you get that throat burn and all that other stuff. So if you want to get those flavors coming out, you have to inhale, then you go, and you exhale through your nose. You get all those wonderful flavors coming, and you can get all those smells. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're into jar number 4 now, and we have run for approximately 2 hours and 45 minutes. So this jar took 45 minutes to get to this point of another 500 ml. So that brings our total up to 1.75 plus the 250 we tossed. That brings us up to 2 liters. So that means we are running into the tail end of things now. So switching out this jar for our 250 ml jars. Okay, we're still running crystal clear, so we haven't had any of those oils from the peels pulling through yet. So on the nose, we're getting a lot of citrus still. We're moving into the orange now, so the lemon has taken a bit of a back seat. So a lot of lemon, getting that lemony, oily, coating the roof of your palate. So those oils from those leaves are starting to pull through now. So I suspect in the next couple of jars we're going to get a cloudy jar. But yeah, we're going to let this run now, and I'll just give you an update at the end. We finished up last night at around about 1:30 in the morning. I ran it all the way past to about 9 jars, but 8 and 9 was deep into the tail, so I left those 2 out. So my thinking of the usable product that I tasted last night as they came off the still was from 1 all the way to jar number 7. So jar number 1 was 250 mils, 500 mils, 500 mils, 500 mils, and then 250, 250, 250 again. So this is slightly more than 250, but yeah, we'll round it out. So for those that are interested, we started out at about 76% ABV on jar 1, dropped down to about 70% on jar 2, then it hovered at about 65 for jar 3 and jar 4. Jar 5 went down to 55 at the end, and then we ended up on about 45% ABV on the last 2 jars. So it kept pretty stable through the center. And yeah, what I'm going to do now is I left them open last night to aerate out, and then this morning or this afternoon actually, what I did is I just closed the caps up just to trap some of those flavors inside. So when I open them up for the first time now, I will get a good nose on all of them. So what I'm going to do now is I've got my distilled water over here. I've got some distilled water, not distilled, just filtered water. And I've got a bucket of clean water with my tasting cup over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through all of them. First do the nose and then do the tasting. I'm going to proof them down a little bit and just get some flavors. But yeah, I'll check back with you guys at the end and give you an overview of the flavors. And yeah, from jar 1 to 7. Cool. Quick overview, jar number 1 gave me a very orange smell on the nose. When you peel oranges and you have that citrus smell, it has that. On the taste, it has that little bit of that oiliness from the orange peel, that bitterness that you get from orange peel if you accidentally bite into it. Jar number 2 was orange, very strong on the nose, and then on the palate there was a lot of lemon that came through. Number 3 went into straight orange peel, so when you peel an orange you get that smell. Then on number 4 on the nose we had a lot of lemon, and then on the taste you had, I don't know if holes, your lemon holes, like candy for throat. So it has that strong lemon taste, that almost medicinal taste of lemon in it. Not bad, but it's there. And then on number 5, jar number 5, on the nose you get that candy smell. So when you open up a pack of hard candies, that sweet smell that you have there. And then on the taste side you have that sweet orange lemon, the sweet side of it, but also the oils, both orange and lemon. Jar number 6, you can smell it started almost going into tails. I wouldn't say into tails yet, but it's the tail end of our hearts there. You had that smell if you kept the lemon and the orange peels and you opened up that bag for the first time. That smell of the dried lemon and orange peel, it had the smell of that. On the taste side, it tasted like burnt orange peel, not burnt as in scorched, but heated up. So if you cook with orange, made orange chicken or something like that, that burnt, that cooked orange taste. It had that with a little bit of tea. My palate says rooibos tea, but yeah, it had a little bit of tea flavor in it there. Jar number 7, it was a very dry, that dried peel smell on it, so you can smell it the moment you opened up that jar, the dry, if you open up that bag, that smell came through strong. And then on the taste side, there was almost no orange or lemon, it was almost all tea. So for me, like rooibos or something like that. This is nice and deep in hearts, and I think all of these are usable products. I think on jar number 6 I'm not going to use the whole jar. What I'll do is I'll add a little bit in, mix it up, taste it, and then play around with it with jar number 6, 7 and 8. No, 6 and 7, sorry, jar 6 and 7. I'll play around with those ones to see what kind of flavors we get. So yeah, let's get a mixing. Okay, that's to me almost right on the money. You have great orange flavors and all that other stuff, and lemon flavors and the citrus and that oils of the peel coming through with a nice bitter aftertaste. Not a bad bitter, but nice. It coats your tongue. There's no stinging, there's nothing. It's a very pleasant drink here. So what I would like to do is add a little bit more of number 6. See if I can get that tea flavor to come a bit in more. Add a little bit more of that. And then also number 5, that candy sweetness. I want some of that candy sweetness to come in. I'm going to add the whole of jar number 5. I'm going to see what we get. Let's just aerate it again and see what we get. Okay, that's right on the money. Not going to make any more changes. Nice warming feeling in the mouth. That lingering aftertaste of orange and lemon is just perfect. I'm happy with it. What I'm going to do now is get it all bottled up and let it rest for a little while. And yeah, thank you for joining me. Have a lucky day, and the whiskey video is being filmed today, so we'll be off in the next couple of days. Thank you very much.